So I think by now all my B.F.D fans know that I'm not the perfect frame builder or tool builder or anything like that. And so, you know, true to my form, I make mistakes, and so I haven't been afraid to show you what those are. And so I had to go out and buy another set of seat stays, because apparently I had messed up one set before, or half of a set, and had to pilfer from pay Peter to steal from Peter to pay Paul, or something like that. So I only had one seat stay for this build here, and I had to go out and buy another one. So here we go, unboxing. And I don't know if how many other builders will actually show their mistakes and everything, but I am here to show you that mistakes are made by beginners, pros, experts. It just happens, and to not show the mistakes, it would be disingenuous, I believe, especially if you're a beginner. And so here we go. I decided to go ahead and buy another down tube for another build later on. So I'm going to make a large 29er all mountain bike. So I went ahead and bought a new down tube. And let's see, I should have, I already have one set, another chainstay set. So I'm good there. So what would I need? I would need another seat stay too. So I went ahead and bought two sets. So I have two sets plus an extra one. So if I mess up again, I can steal from Peter again. Okay, so let me get situated and I'll show you what we're going to be doing. Okay, so we have the new seat stays unboxed, and they're, I'd call them two bends, S. They're really slight bend here, good bend here, and not a what I'd call a true S bend. The last set were bent like not an S, but you can definitely see the wave in there, and so I think these are going to work out actually a little better with this frame back here. So what we need to do is fit check these to see how much of a modification we're going to need to do. All right, so let's take a look. So I got the 27.5 wheel on there, even though this is a 29er. And what I'm going to do is just come in here and lay it in here and see where that bend falls. If I were to use the full length of the tube, the bend is way up here, and that's more than an inch more than the 27.5. So we know that this has got to be modified a little bit. It needs to be brought back to somewhere around here. So it looks like maybe an inch off the tail end, and then I have all this up here that needs to be removed. And that would put the bend right in the sweet spot. But just laying it here, you can see that it's got mega clearance. Here, let me show you. Bring this over. Take the other camera. Okay, so you can see that there's a lot of clearance. But that's not necessarily true, because the tube is actually sitting on the outside of the seat tube. And so when I cut this, it's going to bring the seat tube in. And this would be more of a true representation, really. Even this can be deceptive. But so you can see what it looks like now. That's not too bad. You know, I don't think I'm going to have to modify this tube at all. And then on the other side, you do the same thing. But now you got to look for clearance on not only the tire, for the tire, but also for your rotor. All right, gotta make sure you have enough room there. And if you find that you don't, that it's actually too far over, like that, right? Then you're gonna have to modify the tube in order to account for that. So now you're probably asking yourself, okay, Sean, I have this problem. My rotor is striking my tube, my seat tube. Well, not seat tube, my seat stay tube. So what do I do now? It's been prefab, pre-curved and everything for you. Well, you're going to have to modify it. You're going to have to bend the tube in order to get it to give you the minimum clearance that you require. And sometimes that can mean bending the tube quite a bit, or just tweaking it a little bit. So now you're asking yourself, what? How do I do that? Well, if you have the money, you can buy a jig that will help you do that, or you can build a jig. But that's throwing a lot of money at something that if you're just doing one frame for yourself, you don't want to put out a lot of expenditure just for that one build. So again, what can you do? As the poor man, I'm going to help you out there. 2x4, all right? And so all I've done here is I've drilled different size holes in here, depending on what I wanted to do and for what tube. And chainstays are actually pretty damn hard to bend by hand, especially towards the front end closest to the bottom bracket, because, well, at least for me, I use ovalized tubes. If you have just round ones, those are a lot easier to bend. But seat stays are oval. Almost all that I've ever used were oval. Some have some additional flaring and butting to give them a little more strength for whatever use you're going to use them for. But what I found is that if I just take this tube and mark it up as to where I need my bends, you can take your 2x4, find the corresponding right size hole, and you position it where you want. Let me see if I can hold this right. And you make sure you don't want to grab it at the very end, because then it's going to possibly bend somewhere where you don't want to, or it will crimp all of a sudden. You want to find a good place where you can kind of feel the tube starting to bend a little bit. And if your 2x4 is brand new and you got straight holes going straight through, you're going to feel a little bit more movement, because the wood is going to compress and give, and it will make it feel like, oh shit, the tube is bending way more than it should be, or than what you want. And you pull it out and go, oh yeah, it barely moved. Well, that's because the 2x4 compressed. So as you can see, I have all kinds of indentations here from where I've put pressure onto the 2x4. I usually put this up against a workbench or something so that it doesn't move and it's at an angle, but I'm just going to show you mop wise. I'm not going to truly do it on this tube yet, but you'll just move it around, push down until it stops, and then gently start putting some pressure on it until you can feel it bend. Then you pull it out, take a look at it, do a fit check, and keep bending the tube until you get the desired shape that you want. Now, if you need to bend quite a bit to get the tube to go around the actual tire width, then what you want to do is figure out that radius and kind of mark where the tube will start to bend and where you want to make graduations bends. So a slight bend here, another slight bend, another bend, and that will get you a larger bend. Because if you do it too hard, you get a flat spot. And even doing it this way, you might get little tiny little flat spots that you can feel when you push your thumb or fingers on it and move it up and down. You can actually feel a little bit of a flat spot, but visually it looks pretty damn good. So you got to be gentle but firm. Okay, so go and take your seat stays, do your fit up, and see what needs to be modified. Now, what I'm going to do is kind of shorten my tubes and then come back and take a look at it. Okay, so I'm back, and just to show you how simple this really is I've taken a marker and I just put a scribe line on the ends of how much material I want to take off. And so this is kind of, I leave a little extra for just the first cut, and then I'll go and miter the ends and make the final cuts. But to give you an idea, here's how I did my fit check essentially. I laid the tube out about where the widest part of the tire would be, somewhere up here. I just scribed the line as to where I wanted it with a lot of excess there, and then down at the bottom you can see I have access, but not as much, because that's where it's easier to see where it's going to be. And once I cut one, just to get the rough cuts, I'll come back, do another fit check, and then I'll go and cut the second one to match, but opposite, right? Don't cut your tubes exactly the same, otherwise you'll be doing what I did on my very first build, and that would be buying another set of seat stays. Okay, all right. Okay, so there's nothing special going on here. Just going to cut this to its preliminary length. I don't know if you can hear me, but eye protection is key. Don't want any pieces falling up in your eye. By the way, keep these pieces that you cut off, because you can use them as your braces. I'll show you in a minute. And if you have a pair of soft jaws that you can put on your clamps, that's a good idea. That way you don't mar up your parts as you cut them. I just use a rag, but yeah, get the idea. So here's the rough cut. It's going to sit right in here. It's actually going to come down there. Looks like I could actually take off. I like the back end down here. I think I'm going to take another ½ inch off up here, just to get me close. So this is a total bodge, but because I couldn't find my V-clamps, I found one for a different tool that I had and another for another tool that I had, and combined the two to make a clamp to hold my stay in place. And then I just used an angle finder, basically, and measured that off of the frame, and transpose that onto my mill to the part. And now I'm just going to use my mill to do the drilling or the mitering. Now you can also use a drill press if you have one. And then that notching tool, if you went to Harbor Freight or any hardware store that has drill type stuff, they probably have a notcher, and I think you can get them for like 30 bucks or so. Nothing grand. You might have to do some modifications to make it a little stiffer and a little more resilient so that it doesn't vibrate, move around. Maybe put your own angle finder on there because the angle gauge might be a little off. Believe me, all these inexpensive tools aren't all that accurate, so you might have to do some additional modifications and or use another tool to verify the angles. Or spend a little more money and get one that actually is good. Okay? All right, so just to give you an idea, my mill, I have it set for 570 RPMs. I don't know, can you see that? There you go, 570. There you go. And I'm just going to put this down someplace. All right, there you go. It's a little bit more than I wanted to have sticking out there. It probably caused this to jerk around, but I wanted to have it so you can see it, and I'm not going to be taking a whole lot more off anyway, so I'm just going to advance this in a little. Come down, look at it. Maybe a little bit more. Yep, that's good. So I'm just going to come in and use a little WD-40 just to help it move along. You can tell my mill machine is broken arms and everything. It's a piece of crap. So what I get works. Yours definitely will work. Alright, you saw it kick there. Fortunately, it kicked at the very end, but I had too much out and it was chattering. You can see it flexing, and that's not good, but I'm going to clean it up by hand anyway, and it will be fine. But if you're doing it, choke up as far as you can, and that gives you still enough room to get the right angle that you want. So let's go take this back. Let's go take this back to the bike frame and take a look and see how it fits. That's pretty clean. And then when you go to the back, I still have quite a bit of excess. Now the question I got to ask myself, is that arch far enough in front for a 29er? I'm bringing it down just to get it kind of feel. What do you think? You know, I would say that's good for a 27.5. I think I need to bring it forward more. In that case, I probably need I think for a 29er, I think for a 27.5, that's actually quite good. I think, yeah, for a 29er, I'm going to have to bring it forward some more. But I'm going to have to introduce a little bit more bend to it. All right, so back to the drawing board, I guess you might say, but it's not really the drawing board, just fine tuning. All right, let me go do that. Okay, so I got my seat stay, and what I'm going to do is just bend it, start the bending up here and slowly move my way back just a little bit. I don't need a whole lot of bend, just a little bit. So here we go. Footnote. Note the curve in your seat stay, right? Because you want to make sure that the arc is pointing to you, unless you want to get some sort of funky complex contour in your seat stays, which I did on a couple bikes, and they were road bikes. So anyway, make sure this is pointing out towards you. Reach around. I feel for the back end, see where I am how close I am to the edge. And I just put some pressure on it to get it sit down into the groove. There we go. Check in. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I don't know if you can see that. And when I was talking about flat spots, I can't feel a flat spot at all on this one. I like it. I think I'm just going to finish the notching on this end and make the final adjustments at the opposite end. And I'll probably do the same thing. I'll inch my way in onto it. And I'll just inch in on that and probably do a couple cuts and then the rest by hand. Okay, true to form for myself, I made a mistake and I recorded over part of this video for the welding part when I went on vacation down to Moab with the wife. So I have a still. And what this still is just showing you is after doing all the fit ups and everything, I welded the seat stays into place. And the thing that I wanted to bring up was that make sure you drill breather holes into the seat post common to where your seat stays interface. Now you also want to check for symmetry between your left and right hand seat stays and make sure that they're parallel to each other and not twisted in any weird way that is visually offsetting. So make sure you check those sort of things and then go ahead and tack it in place and then take a look at it again and make sure everything is to your satisfaction before you commit to welding them 100%. And at the end, everything looks aligned and you're all happy. Thanks for joining me. I do plan on showing a little bit on how to do the braces, so I'll do a short video on that one too. All right, talk to you guys in a bit.